Hello and welcome to the West Asia Post. I'm Ghadi Francis and this is a new episode of WION's weekly show where we bring you all things new from this region. Thousands of Palestinians marched across the coastal Al-Rashid Street, walking back to northern Gaza. Waves of tears of joy and sorrow mixed as Palestinians' flags were high above the destruction. From Palestine to Syria and Lebanon, West Asia has witnessed winds of change. Before we dive into all that, let's take a look at what else is making the headlines in the region.
A list that includes the status of all of the 33 hostages due to
Let's speak about Lebanon. Despite agreeing to a ceasefire, despite signing that, Israel is still violating the terms. Israeli troops are still in Lebanese land. Hezbollah chief Sheikh Naim Qasim says that Israeli troops have violated the ceasefire agreement more than 1,000 times. In the next report, we ask, why is Israel still in Lebanon after the 60 days period has ended? We tell you more.
Even if you do not let us, we will enter Kafar Kila village. We are entering with our children against everyone's will.
Desperate Lebanese citizens in Burj al-Muluk near the Kafar Kila in southern Lebanon defying the Israeli forces to return to their homes. Some even crossed the barbed wire that remained even after the deadline for the IDF's withdrawal from the region had ended, chanting, "Go to Netanyahu."
Why you stay here? Why? Why you stay here? Go your home.
Believe me, I won't go home. Believe me.
Hey, I don't believe you. What are you doing now?
Listen to me.
Huh?
You don't want to fight.
You don't fight. We don't want to fight too. Go out.
Yarun residents confronted the Israeli soldiers who used bulldozers to make mud barriers to block their entry into their village. In the streets of Bint Jabal, many Lebanese came to pray after the Israeli forces fired at citizens trying to enter their village. At least 11 people were killed while dozens of civilians were wounded.
There is no room for the Israeli occupation on our lands. When the enemy refuses to withdraw because they insist on carrying on with destruction and following these tactics and violating the agreement sponsored by countries that did not respect this agreement, that is, the United States, and because the enemy insists on occupation as well, we insist on liberation.
Under the ceasefire deal that took effect on November 27th, Israel was to have withdrawn its troops in 60 days. The Hezbollah was to have pulled back from north of the Litani River, about 30 kilometers from the border. Both sides have traded blame for the delays in implementing the deal. Days before the ceasefire deadline, Netanyahu's office said the Israeli military's withdrawal was contingent on the Lebanese army deploying in southern Lebanon and fully and effectively enforcing the agreement, while Hezbollah withdraws beyond the Litani.
We've made clear that there have been positive movements where the Lebanese army and UNIFIL have taken the place of Hezbollah forces as stipulated in the agreement. We've also made clear that these movements have not been fast enough and there is much more work to do. Israel has made clear that they wish for this agreement to endure. Israel will certainly enforce this agreement as well as adhering to this agreement. But the movements have not been fast enough.
Rejecting the Israeli logic for extending its troop withdrawal, the Hezbollah chief accused Israel of violating the ceasefire over 1,000 times.
With the agreement, we are now in a new phase. We, as Hezbollah and the Islamic resistance, and all the resistance fighters with us, have committed ourselves completely to not violating the agreement. Israel violated the agreement about 350 times, by air, land, and sea, whether by bombing, assault, destroying homes, destroying lives, or by the drones that move from one place to another.
Reports say that Israel continues to bomb southern Lebanon. Dozens are wounded in Nabatie al-Fawqa in the strikes, according to the Lebanese Health Ministry. The Lebanese government has now extended the withdrawal period till the 18th of February, but it remains unclear when Israeli forces will pull out from Lebanon. The Lebanese government has told US mediators that Israel's failure to withdraw could complicate the Lebanese army's deployment. It asserted this will undermine the optimistic atmosphere in Lebanon since the election of President Joseph Aoun. The World Bank estimates the year-long war may have cost Lebanon over $5 billion, while over 100,000 Lebanese homes are destroyed. Newly appointed President Joseph Aoun and Prime Minister Nawaf Salam face the mammoth task of rebuilding the war-battered nation and securing its border. But now, with the ongoing Israeli strikes, the delay in the IDF withdrawal is sparking concerns of a fresh war between Hezbollah and Israel.
President Donald Trump has invited Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House. Now, this would be the first visit of a foreign leader to the White House since Donald Trump took office. This comes at times when America really wants to hold the ceasefire in Gaza, and Benjamin Netanyahu is facing heat from international trials to opposition internally. We tell you more.
U.S. President Donald Trump invited Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House, making the latter the first foreign leader to visit Trump after he took office. White House announced the development as Washington pressures Israel and Hamas to continue a ceasefire that has halted a devastating 15-month war in Gaza. U.S. President Donald Trump says some interesting things could be done with Gaza.
Egypt's president and the King of Jordan have both said that they won't take in displaced people from Gaza like you suggested. Is there anything you can do to make them do that? I mean, tariffs against those countries, for example?
They will do it. They will do it.
What makes you say that?
They're going to do it. Okay? We do a lot for them, and they're going to do it.
Israel is preparing for talks on the second phase of the ceasefire.
These are moments of happiness, but they come with concern and vigilance, because the mission is to bring everyone home. I address our remaining hostages and say to you, we are working to secure your release. We will not rest or remain silent until you are home.
Over the years, Donald Trump and Netanyahu have openly expressed support for each other. The Israeli Prime Minister hailed Trump's second term as president, claiming the best days are yet to come. The last time the Israeli Prime Minister visited United States was to address the United Nations General Assembly. This was when Israel was fighting battles on multiple fronts and the threat of Iran attacking Israel was looming.
I didn't intend to come here this year. My country is at war, fighting for its life. But after I heard the lies and slanders leveled at my country by many of the speakers at this podium, I decided to come here and set the record straight.
This time around, the circumstances are different. Netanyahu is under massive pressure from his hardline coalition partners. Far-right Israeli leaders have threatened to topple Netanyahu's government if he does not resume Israel's war in Gaza when a 6-week ceasefire with Hamas expires. Throughout the war, Netanyahu promised a total victory against Hamas, destroying the group's governing and military capabilities and bringing home all of the hostages remaining in Gaza. But it has fallen far short of these goals, with the ceasefire now in place. Over 6 weeks, Israel is set to bring home just 1/3 of the more than 90 remaining hostages. The fate of the others remains unclear. The landscape in Gaza is also changing. The first phase allows thousands of Gazans to leave their tents and return to their homes. This serves as a window for Hamas to regroup within masses of civilians. Israel and Netanyahu himself already are accused of war crimes and crimes against humanity at the world's top courts over the civilian toll in Gaza. The Israeli Prime Minister is also battling court cases at home, including charges of fraud, breach of trust, and bribery. Just as Netanyahu could be benefiting from Israel's battlefield gains, the Israeli leader is torn between the West's quest to maintain a ceasefire and his coalition's demand to keep fighting Gaza war.
Another West Asian country in turmoil, Syria. Syria's new de facto ruler, Ahmad al-Shara, time and again said that Syria is going to embrace democracy. But he is turning to Islamic law to train Assad's police force. In the next report we ask, is democracy really in the future of Syria, or are the cracks already showing in the new regime? We tell you more.
Syria's de facto leader, Ahmad al-Shara, was declared transitional president on Wednesday, a development that tightens his hold on power less than 2 months after his forces led the campaign that toppled Bashar al-Assad.
The power vacuum must be filled in a legitimate and legal manner. Second, civil peace must be preserved by seeking to achieve transitional justice and preventing manifestations of revenge.
The Syrian constitution was suspended and al-Shara was employed to form a temporary legislative council for the transitional period. These decisions emerged from a meeting of military commanders who took part in the assault against the Assad regime. Ahmad al-Shara has pledged to form an inclusive government and hold the elections, a process that he says could take up to 4 years. Another key promise is to unify one of the most diverse countries in West Asia. But 7 weeks since the HTS group toppled the Assad regime, the new ruler is yet to announce when the new legislative body might be picked, or provide a timeline for the transition. Meanwhile, the new regime is turning to Islamic law to train Assad's police forces. Police personnel brought into Damascus from the rebel region of Idlib are being questioned about their beliefs. The recruits are being told to focus on Islamic Sharia law in their training modules.
It is necessary for a member of the security team to know what is permissible and what is not in Islam. Why? So he can meet people, so he could achieve justice and not wrong anyone. He should be aware of these things, raise awareness. This is obvious. While some people may already have this awareness, the majority do not.
For the Sunni Muslim Islamists, ensuring stability and winning the trust of people across Syria will be crucial to cement their rule. But the move to put religion at the center of policing runs the risk of seeding new rifts in a diverse country that is awash with guns after 13 years of civil war. Most minorities are still wary of the new regime. The Kurdish forces guarding Islamic State fighters at a jail in northern Syria say they are opposed to handing the facility to the new Islamist rulers in Damascus as they brace for attacks by the ultra-hardline group.
As you know, the Syrian government is currently run by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. There is no coordination between us until this moment regarding prisons. I believe that our administration will not hand over the file of Daesh, Arabic acronym for Islamic State, prisoners to them.
The war-torn country is yet to achieve stability, while neighbors are looking to eliminate threats to their people emanating from Syrian soil. Turkey is fighting the YPG militia in Syria, while Israel says will stay on Mount Hermount indefinitely.
I came here to ensure that the IDF is well prepared in defense and attack for a prolonged stay in the Herman posts. The IDF will remain on Mount Hermon and in the security zone for an indefinite period of time to ensure the security of the Golan Heights and the northern communities and all residents of the State of Israel. We will not return to the reality of October 7th and will not be dependent on others for our defense here and anywhere else.
Al-Shara has sought to reassure Western officials and West Asian governments that his faction has renounced its former ties to Al-Qaeda and will rule with moderation. The question is, will Ahmad al-Shara follow through with his promise to build a democratic Syria?
President Donald Trump has decided to put the Houthi Ansarullah rebels, the Yemeni group, back on the terror list. Now, how would this impact Yemen? We tell you.
US President Donald Trump has redesignated Yemen's Houthis as a foreign terrorist organization. A decision the Republican leader had taken in 2021. The White House said the Houthis are attacking US vessels and interests in the Red Sea, besides threatening the security of American civilians and personnel in West Asia. The White House order also directed US Agency for International Development to cut ties with partners that paid Houthi entities or criticized efforts to counter the Iran-backed group. Abdul Rahman al-Anoumi, who heads the Houthi-controlled Public Corporation for Broadcast, said if the designation harms Yemenis, the rebel group will deal with it as an escalation and war. Residents living in Yemen's capital city rejected Trump's move.
This decision is made by a crazy, mad person, and this decision does not affect us. We do not care if they categorize us as terrorists or as a terrorist organization. It is a decision coming from the mother of terrorism, from the land of terrorism, which is the source of terrorism, and which created terrorism.
Former US President Joe Biden removed the Houthis from the foreign terrorist list after humanitarian groups protested they could not get aid to Yemen's needy without dealing with the rebels. After suffering huge losses in the Red Sea, Joe Biden relisted the Houthis as specially designated global terrorists, a category less severe than the FTO. The FTO designation means anyone in the US or abroad suspected of providing support or resources to the Houthis could be prosecuted by under a spectrum of US laws. Human rights groups have previously said this could prevent humanitarian organizations from operating in areas under Houthi control where the bulk of Yemen's population lives. Yemen has been devastated by a civil war that escalated 10 years ago when the Houthis seized control of the country's northwest from the internationally recognized government. The fighting has reportedly left more than 150,000 people dead and triggered a humanitarian disaster in the country. 4.8 million people are displaced, and 19.5 million, half of Yemen's population, need some form of aid.
Now to the Gulf, to Saudi Arabia. Marketing plans are being diversified and really changed in the country. In the latest, foreign investors are now allowed to invest in Saudi companies that own in Mecca and Medina, Islam's two holiest sites. We bring you the story.
One of the world's holiest sites in Saudi Arabia, Mecca is undergoing massive development. Riyadh is aiming to attract 30 million Muslim pilgrims to Mecca each year by 2030. Riyadh's market regulator says that it is facilitating its 2030 vision by allowing foreigners to invest in Saudi-listed companies that own property in Mecca and Medina. The regulator says this will enhance the Gulf nation's regional and international competitiveness. But despite its vast global and domestic investment campaign, Saudi Arabia is largely dependent on oil revenues to fund its ongoing economic makeover. The International Monetary Fund has estimated that Saudi Arabia needs oil prices at $96 a barrel to balance its budget. That is roughly $20 more than where prices currently stand. Saudi Arabia is the largest economy in West Asia and the world's biggest crude oil exporter. For years, it has been engaged in vast reforms to diversify the economy with tourism and investment. The kingdom's public investment fund is spearheading a project Masar that will build 40,000 new hotel rooms in Mecca. The Hajj pilgrimage is one of the most integral parts of Islamic faith. It is a once-in-a-lifetime rite of passage for most of the world's 1.7 billion Muslims. It is also Saudi Arabia's second most important economic engine after the oil industry and reportedly generates $12 million for the oil-rich nation.
That's all we have for you on this episode of the West Asia Post. I will see you next week with a brand new lineup, always bringing you the most recent updates, news and ground reports from the most volatile region in the world. I'm Redi Francis signing off from Beirut, Lebanon. For more global news, keep on watching WION World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in. India's Budget 2025 is here. Will it fuel growth or deepen inflation's bite? Will it support the rupee and markets? From tax reforms to middle-class relief, we decode what's in it for you. Stay ahead with our expert analysis and global perspective.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Know more? Understand better? Think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at WION.com.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.